Great. This is a very interesting topic, dear to pretty much everybody in this room, right? I don't think that there is anybody who says that my business cannot be customer-centric or don't have to be customer-centric, right? I wish we are that monopoly where, 90s of Microsoft or the early years of the Ford where you say that I'm going to sell you a product, take it or leave it, it's going to be there, right? Unfortunately, we live in a world where either because of the competition or 100 different reasons, we are forced to become customer-centric. And that has become, and especially nowadays, with the millennials and the Gen Zs, they actually value experience more than the value of the product itself. So when world is moving so rapidly towards hyper-personalized support or hyper-personalized support, care that you need to provide either to the consumers or to the customers, how are the businesses kind of evolving? And ladies and gentlemen, we have like unbelievable panelists. Myron, of course, is a part of an organization that is actually supports a lot of other enterprises where, with their data and other things for marketing and support and whatnot. And of course, Chaitanya directly sells to the consumers. So he has a very different perspective on what customer support means and why it is very different than what it is for the enterprises. So let's dwell deep right away, Myron. Every company says that they're customer-centric. 99% of the time they are not, at least that's what the reviews say. So what makes an organization to be customer-centric versus not?
So what makes it? So Epsilon, one of the things that we have the unique ability we get to work with enterprises, and we also get to work with their individuals that they're trying to have as buyers and everything. So we have a unique perspective that we have to do, kind of live in both worlds and everything. When we look at Epsilon, what we're doing is I don't want to say we have a culture because we're trying to actually change our culture, because we used to have a culture like let's do anything and everything for any enterprise that comes by and things like that. What we're trying to do is get back to being an exception type process, is what is the good that we're trying to provide to the enterprise or the marketer that we're working with so that we can actually help them drive the right business at the right time for them and stuff. And then what we're also trying to do and is enable, like in our product engineering and everything, is how do we get our features out faster, right? How do we do that? That's some of our transformation we're going through right now with our GCC here in India. We're trying to figure out how do we get more value, drive more value out of the individuals that we have here that are doing the work in the product engineering, and let them think more on their own, right? Be the owner of those products and services that they're trying to do. Feel like they're part of understanding what the consumer might be out there, what they're looking for, how we target them, how do we actually make the data available in front of them, how do we make the right, make the decisions in the right manner too. So I don't want to say it's a culture. It's kind of the whole, how do you have your family work together is really what we're trying to move toward.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Chaitanya, you have had on many hats. You have served companies, and now you're directly serving the customers. What's your take on this?
I think 3 words come to my mind, Vamsi. One is autonomy. Second is rituals. And third one is to think of customer as a customer, not as a customer number. I'll give you brief examples. Autonomy is where a customer-facing person, anywhere across the value chain, need not be from the customer service desk, because these days people reach out to anybody and everybody on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and so forth. So you should be able to have that customer-first thought process where you take an independent call on behalf of the customer. So if that is taken care, because every single employee, every single wakefitter is now a representative of Wakefit. So if they are empowered to take that call on behalf of the customer, then we doesn't have to go through 4 levels of approval to get one decision to be made. That is autonomy, where the customer's voice is heard and they immediately take action on that. The second is rituals. Today we are about $120, $130 million in revenue, 1,700 full-timers, but we never refer to a customer as order number XYZ. We refer to them as customer X, customer Y, customer Z. because they are not an order number. They placed an order for a particular need. They're a person. They have a specific requirement, and we failed somewhere. So it has to be a customer and not an order number. There's no impersonal thing there. You have to treat them as a human being. And that's where the first relationship starts. The last part is the ritual. I told you, this is where we have something known as a cross-functional analysis of individual cases. So this is a fortnightly ritual where representatives from all teams come on board, and we bring in one particular case where something has gone right beautifully or something has gone wrong horribly. And we look at every single touch point that the customer had, and we simply discuss. Just like Shamil earlier mentioned, there is nobody trying to apportion blame or say this department or this person failed. Everybody is an analyzer who just analyzes and says what went wrong. And everybody is openly proposing ideas on what could be done better. So autonomy, rituals, and thinking of a person as a human being, I think those three have worked for us.
No, I think you said the right things. I think, see, that's what everybody talks about. Like if you talk to any CEO, everybody says that, customer satisfaction is the most important metric for us, and that is everybody publishes it, whether privately or publicly or anything. So, from your perspective, that's on the top. How is that you talked about culture. I think, some of the things that Chaitanya is mentioning is also related to culture. What kind of an organization distills down that towards an individual? Everyone talks about empowering, yes. But if everybody is empowered, how come your customers are not that happy, right? So what's that secret sauce from your perspective, Myron?
So, the way we look at it, and from our perspective, from Epsilon and stuff, is the individual, right? We start with the individual. But when we come to a marketer and say, how are you going to talk to your customers? I don't want to use, we hate to use the word customers. I don't want to use that. They're individuals, right? It goes back to where they're a person out there. And each person is different and everything. But people, when you're a marketer, you have a universe that you're trying to get to, a core universe. You're trying to understand who your potential buyers are, because not everyone's a buyer for your products, right?
Sure.
And that's okay. That's okay, because that's what competition is and everything like that. But we want to help you. We want to help the retailer, the marketer, find out who those buyers are that they should be talking to at the right moment and everything like that. And that's how Epsilon looks at it, and that's how that's how we think about it internally. That's kind of our whole thing. Our whole marketing, what we're looking at right now is how do we've kind of formulated it. I would also argue that Epsilon's not good at marketing themselves, and we're actually getting better at it now. But we have a one view, one voice, one vision philosophy. And what that means is we're looking at how do you help and this all goes down to working with our retailers and marketers and stuff. How do we help them build their universe, right? Then how do we help them engage with the individual at the right moment, and then keep talking to them in the right way so we don't overload them with ads and everything like that. And then also, how do you create that engagement of vision of how do you engage with them? How are you going to talk to them in the future and things like that? So that's how Epsilon looks at it.
So whatever you said is great, but at the same time, one size doesn't fit all. You have even more complexity in a sense, like you actually serve multiple industries, multiple problems within that industry. So, and that's where some of the things that Chaitanya was talking about, autonomy to make those flexible decisions comes in. How do you handle that?
We have a lot of flexibility in our platforms. And I think that's one thing that we have built up over time is we look at those verticals, because all those verticals are different. You take healthcare, you take CPG, you take traditional retailers, you take financial services. All of them are going to be different. But at the end of the day, they're still talking to individuals. And that's what ties it all together when you get down to it.
Wonderful. Chaitanya, a different question for you. You talked about autonomy, right? And you're a B2C company, and probably having thousands of interactions every day. What kind of blew your mind on what your team had done?
Actually, blew quite our minds. There are two examples. One was where Apparently, the customer was in the 4th floor, and it wasn't an apartment complex with a separate service lift and so forth. And it's like Netherlands, where your sofa had to be shipped through the window on the 4th floor. So nobody thought through, the customer didn't think through, and the large sofa has landed up. The stairway is too narrow to go up. And then we don't know who in the customer-facing team approved this. They've approved that a crane would go, an industrial crane, lift up the sofa and deliver it to the 4th floor. The customer took this video and posted it on social media. Our enthusiastic social media team retweeted and reposted on our handles. And our supply chain team is freaking out that we don't want every customer to expect the same thing. So it really, we don't know. It was an empowered customer-facing person who took this call and did this. But that shows that they don't think from what is the saving, what is the cutting of corners. They think from the customer's point of view. The second one that really comes to my mind is everybody is nowadays getting used to online. So one day we have this 78, 79-year-old gentleman just turn up in our office, fully tired from the heat of summer. And we don't know what's happened, and the team has gone, given him water and so forth, and they found out that he has discovered online recently, and he's starting to use the internet. He wanted a mattress, he browsed, he found Wakefit, he placed the order. After he placed the order, people and his relatives and so forth have said, maybe you got taken for a ride. Who buys mattresses online? So he had panicked, and from North Bangalore, he had taken a bus, changed a bus, then come to our office saying that we just wanted to verify whether the company is genuine or not.
Okay.
So the team found him a cab, assured him that the product would be delivered, and sent him home. All of these things happen, and my co-founder Ankit, we get to know this many, many days later. These are things that they take on their own because every single customer and every single team member is and should be an advocate of Wakefit. No other marketing dollars can surpass that.
Absolutely. I think, so how do you inculcate that within like you're 1,700 people. Of course, you cannot just, there are going to be exceptions, like Shyamlal said, right? You kind of don't know what to expect, and suddenly there is going to be this kind of situation. But how do you tell people it's okay to do it?
By rewarding them and not punishing them.
Great answer. Yeah, I think that's a great answer. Myron, is that very true when you serve B2B?
It is to an exception.
Okay.
Right? Because we're working, again, you work with a lot of individuals. We work with big clients, and we've got to work across the board and things like that. Again, I have we were talking about some examples before we got in here and things like that. And I just, I also have, I'm the CTO, but I also have all client delivery and operations too. So I get to see I've taken that over the last 2 years, and so I get to see all the aspects of that. We actually have a delivery coming up for a client, a major client, a major bank in Canada, and everything. And one of the things is they're migrating from an old custom platform. Epsilon's been around for a long time, 50 years. So we have custom platforms, data platforms, and they're migrating to one of our products now. And what the team did is the client's getting down to the point of, we're getting tight on timelines, things like that. And the team went out and basically they spent all night, in the last week, they spent a night, they came up with a way to migrate all these scripts that would have taken days upon days. And they actually did it. They tested it. They validated. The client is extremely happy. They went out and did that without anybody telling them, hey, you got to work, go do this, go do that. They came up with that on their own. So we encourage people to think outside the box, do the right things, whatever you need to do to get the client happy and everything like that. Again, we can't do that every time, right?
Yep.
Because we still have other deliverables that we have to make on. But these are the things that we want to encourage our people to actually keep doing and keep going forward with.
Wonderful. I know we are almost running out of time here, but there is a very, very important topic that we want to talk about, right? We've been talking about AI forever and Gen AI for at least 18 months, and especially so much more in the last few months. So one thing that is very different in the customer-centric world or customer support kind of processes is you don't have to be reactive anymore. You have enough signals and channels through which those signals are coming to you and the enough sensors that are out there, whether it is social media, whether it is few other capabilities depending on what, like some of the mattresses that you are selling and so on and so forth. What changed? Let's start with you, Chaitanya. What changed in this new world?
Customers' expectation and the bar from what they expect from a brand has really, really gone up.
Okay.
And with the hyperlocal and instant gratification arriving in every other category, even for a large sofa or a bed or a wardrobe, the customers expect the same quality now and the same speed now. So we cannot expect to be highly reactive anymore, and we cannot hope to do that and continue to grow at this stage. And we as a frugal startup can also not afford large platforms like Epsilon, amazing platforms, but we've built out our own data science teams, which 2 examples I'll give you. One is a customer intent model, where depending on what a consumer does on the platform across the funnel, we are able to target them differently. So depending on what they've browsed, how they've browsed, where they've spent time, what has happened on the heat map, we are going to be able to provide them the right richness of information to make their
setting
decision.
the right expectations up front.
Right expectations. The second part is we've come up with a customer pain index, which means, just like you were saying, we cannot wait for a customer to tell us what's gone wrong. So depending on what product, how much of a delay is there, what went wrong, what could have potentially go wrong, given our back-end information, how do we ensure that the customer is proactively taken care and they don't have any anxiety? And India continues to surprise us. For example, we always thought that people who have paid 20,000 rupees for a sofa or something like that would be very, very anxious. But clearly the pain index showed that people who were very risk averse and who had spent 900 rupees on a mattress protector were the most anxious.
I see. Yeah.
So when they needed a particular product, and even if it was delayed by 24 hours, they would be the ones to make the most noise.
Nice.
So how do you break that? So we came up with all of these through data, and we are able to build a segment of one and then talk to them as per their needs.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Myron, same question to you.
Well,
How much of
tell
dog
you what,
food?
I can help you with that today. Seriously, and that's really interesting that you're doing that, because that's what Epsilon's been doing, that for using that within our models, runs within our machinery for the last 10 years. We collect a lot of data. We have a lot of data we get from our clients and everything like that, their first-party data, and we use those signals, and we're able to make those decisions in real time, reactively. Again, a lot of marketing, one thing you don't want to do is, somebody buys a mattress, you don't want to have advertising going after and chasing them down to go buy another mattress, right? Because people don't buy 2 mattresses like that. And the nice thing about what Epsilon does is we actually can do that a moment in time, right? We can talk to the person in a moment, everything like that. So we already been using AI.
Yeah.
And what I would say is that we're evolving more as we continue to use AI. I think generative AI brings a new dynamic into it.
Sure.
And that's how we're looking at how do we actually evolve with that and everything. We have the data, we have the information. Now, how do we actually utilize that in different ways, like customer service, things like that? And so
give us one good example of the dog food, your own dog food that you ate and that made a difference.
Our dog food, we eat our dog food every day, right? I'm a consumer. I'm out in there, and I see ads from Epsilon. It's no different than that. And it's really funny because you look at competitors too, and I use the example of following me around after I buy something. I'm a big baseball fan, right?
Sure.
So I see, and I know who does, and I'll use the company's name, Fanatics, and everything like that. I know who does their advertising for them, but I buy a baseball hat off Fanatics. And guess what? I'm having for like next 3 weeks, I'm seeing the same ad for the same baseball hat that I just bought, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we try to do. And everything like that. So we actually eat our own. We actually do it. We actually advertise for Epsilon with our own platforms.
Got it.
So.
Wonderful. So I know we have less than a minute. So I want each one of you to give like 3 takeaways for this, for this audience, because many of them are either probably some of them. How many of you are in customer-centric, customer front-ending roles? Very few, right? And many of them kind of support. Of course, every organization is designed to support the end consumer or customer. What's your top 3 takeaways? Myron?
When I talk about from Epsilon's perspective, it kind of goes back to what Shania said, is I want, we talk about individuals, right? Everybody's a person. We want to talk to individuals as a person and everything. You have to have a framework that you're actually using to drive some. And I talked about the one voice, one vision, and everything. But the other thing that I would say is, marketers, personalization is in control of the marketers, right? So when you get into the personalization aspect, which is very important about all of this, because we've been talking about personalization, we haven't really said that, but that is in control of the marketers, but we want to make sure that we're actually talking to that individual in the right way at the right time.
Perfect. Chaitanya?
Two things. Your customer invariably knows what they want. You just have to be able to observe and listen and then deliver that. And secondly, your brand doesn't need to be front and center always. The customer's requirement is more important. Your brand can take a back seat in service of that customer need.
Wonderful. I can't thank you enough, Myron and Chaitanya. I wish we had more time. This is a great topic, and you guys are being practitioners and thought leaders in this industry. There were, for those of you who don't know, Chaitanya is the co-founder of WakeFit, who does all these funky ads. I had a lot of questions on why they do that, but unfortunately we ran out of time. Thank you again for all the thoughts. Thank you.